Item. SCP-340. Object Class. Safe. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-341, -3, -4, and -5 are to be communally housed in a 10 m x 10 m x 2.5 meters tank, with the water temperature maintained between 25 degrees Celsius and 30 degrees Celsius. Antidepressants and broad-spectrum antibiotics are to be administered intravenously every 12 hours. Medicinal compounds may not be added to the standard nutritive paste without approval. All waste products must be properly sterilized. Any personnel who aspirate water from the containment tank must report to medical staff immediately. Description: SCP-340 is produced by a human-specific virus which preferentially colonizes the nasal cavities. The virus cannot be identified according to the Baltimore classification scheme, leading Foundation researchers to believe it was engineered by parties as yet unidentified. The presence of genes from both HIV and the SARS coronavirus supports this hypothesis. An incubation period, with a mean duration of 3 days, occurs upon initial exposure to the virus. Influenza-like symptoms will then develop, and will persist for a mean of 7 days before clearing up. An increased production of mucus has been observed in all known cases, and will persist after other symptoms have ceased. Virulence is highest during the first 5 days of infection, but viral particles have been detected up to a month after exposure in Foundation trials. Any time after infection, a high blood concentration of carbon dioxide, CO2, will trigger production of SCP-340. When initially produced, SCP-340 is a jelly-like mucus, which exudes to cover the lower half of the face, including the nose and mouth. SCP-340 in mucus form will undergo a catalytic reaction when immersed in water and will set into a bioplastic membrane. The chemical composition of the bioplastic facilitates the data expunged process. Although it causes SCP-340 to degrade, the process allows the host to breathe underwater. The membrane is flexible, and does not inhibit the host's facial movement. Any tears or holes which develop due to mechanical stress or SCP-340 degradation will be regenerated within 30 seconds due to constant production of SCP-340. Virulence is drastically reduced in this stage, but viral particles have been detected in water samples contaminated with SCP-340. Environmental contact may still spread the infection. When SCP-340 is exposed to air, it dries into a chitin, substance similar to crustacean shells. The water vapor trapped inside an SCP-340 sealed respiratory system is sufficient to prevent premature hardening. The hardening process also destroys its ability to data expunged, and loss of function is irreversible after approximately 2 minutes exposure to air. Once fully hardened, SCP-340 is impossible to remove without inflicting major tissue damage. It is harder than any generally known organic substance. A standard tungsten carbide drill bit required more than 15 minutes of constant use to drill a hole through 5 mm of dried SCP-340. Research is ongoing into methods for the in vitro culture and harvest of SCP-340 for use in industrial applications.